In this position, the white player can win. White wants to promote the pawn, but of course black was ready to sacrifice the knight anytime. So as soon as you push the pawn to c7, the knight will take it, and that's going to be a draw. So you can't really push the pawn, and you can't really take the knight because the opponent king is very close to your pawn, close enough to take it, and that's still a draw. White now goes on with bishop to c3. So let's remember, we have to take into account the concept of domination. This knight can't move anywhere, and he can't go also to f6 or g7 because of this bishop. So our white pieces, the king and the bishop, are dominating the black knight, can't move. So black will have to mess around with his own king, staying close to the pawn in order to keep a draw. So now black can't really move away from the pawn. If black goes down, then you can take the knight and then you'll be able to promote the pawn. So after king to b6, staying close to the pawn, white plays bishop a5 check. So this is a sacrifice. If he takes the bishop, then you can take the knight and we will promote this pawn. So after king to b5, now the bishop goes to d8. So we are still dominating the knight, except now we've given away the square g7 for the knight to go. But it's not a problem because knight to g7 goes further away from the king. Knight f6 would have been a problem because of the check. So that's why we have a bishop in d8. So the king has to move, and our bishop is controlling this diagonal. The king can't go up, can't take the pawn either. So after king to c5, staying close to the pawn, the bishop now goes to h4. Always control the check square. Now black plays king to b5. As mentioned, the black king just has to stay around the pawn. White continues with the winning move, bishop to g5. It's a tempo move. When the king goes back to c5, now bishop e3 check, controlling the diagonal so that the black king can never be on any of the dark squares around our pawn. He will have to be in b5 or d5. Let's go to d5. If the king goes to b5, either way, you're going to play the same move. So let's go to d5. You're going to play bishop to d4 anyway. You're attacking this diagonal, and the black king now has no access to the dark square. If the king had gone to b5, still bishop to d4, you're attacking this diagonal, and the king has no access in these three squares, meaning that now black has to move away from the pawn. And as soon as he does, then we're going to take the knight and promote the pawn.